Guys, we're back to another lesson. Today we're going to have fun with Play-Doh. I thought I would teach you how to make Play-Doh using a boiling hot kettle instead of doing it on the stove. So you must measure everything absolutely perfectly. When it comes to mixing the water, you put the food coloring into the cup first, then measure it perfectly to the top, and then you're going to stir. And don't worry, it doesn't come together at first. Makes you think that you've done something wrong, but you just keep stirring. Oops. And even now you're going to think that you've done something wrong. And all of a sudden it starts to go thicker. And here we have our Play-Doh already. If you're very observant, you'll notice that the glass bowl has changed size, because although Play-Doh is easy to make, it can bomb a lot of the time. So my first batch didn't work. If you don't have food coloring, that's absolutely perfect. Your Play-Doh will be white. It might resemble pup, which is not always the most great thing to model with, but it will do. And you can see it's soft and it doesn't stick. My last one was too sticky, so then I just redid it again. Make sure your water is boiling. Okay, when we do Play-Doh modeling, we work on two principles. One is to make a roly-poly ball, and the other is to make a snake, a worm. So you make it long like that. So everything we're going to make does those or uses those two principles. First one we're going to make is a snail. So that needs to be a worm. So we're going to roly-poly, a really long worm. And it doesn't matter if it breaks off, just join it, squash it again. And we're going to roll it. So this is what a shell is going to look like. And keep rolling. And leave a little bit for his head. And we can even poke out a little bit so it looks like its tail. And then we have the first thing, our snail. Now we can squash it up again. This time what you're going to do is to break your ball in half. The first one, make a roly-poly. And we're going to make a sun. So just like we did for our snail, roll it up. And that is the middle part of our sun. Now you're going to break off smaller little bits and make them worms, and those are going to be, I should make them back there, and you can break off bits and make the rays of the sun. Doesn't matter whether they're all the same length or not. Almost looks a bit like a flower, so maybe we'll call it our sunflower. And one more. And then we have a sun. If you wanted to make it into a flower, squash them down. And just add a few more, so it's like petals. And before long, you'll start to have a flower. And of course, all flowers need a stem, so make another roly-poly, and you can, it's to be a longer roly-poly. And then normally just break off a bit, and you make a lovely leaf as well. And there, it's over there, and there you have your flower. Right, squash them all together again. Now we're going to make a pig. So always think in terms of what does the body look like, what does the face look like. So let's make a roly-poly ball for his tummy. So do a roly-poly ball. Let's make a smaller roly-poly ball for his head. And we're going to squash him up. He sits there. Now, break off a tiny bit. You can make it into a circle. Squash it down and kind of just, I don't know, pinch it at the top for his ears. And you can make his ears. And then you need to have a pencil for his eyes. I use a spoon. For his snout, you need to make another circle, squash it down. We'll give him a really nice big snout. And then use something for holes. Actually, this is more looking like a cow, but anyway. And then make a roly-poly, a worm. And let's make him a curly little tail. If you want to, you can do legs, but often if they're big and fat and your Play-Doh soft, it will just buckle under it. Anyway, let's try and make a dinosaur. I'm going to make a flat dinosaur, and I'm going to do it so that you can actually see it. So as usual, make a roly-poly ball and just squash it down a bit. We're going to make a brontosaurus, so he's going to have a body, and then his head, make a worm, but a fatter worm. And then let's kind of squash him in to make him look a bit better. Make another worm for his tail. You're going to kind of just squash it so it looks a bit better. You're going to break off bits for his legs, and because he's a big dinosaur, his legs are quite fat. Right, he's going to have 4 legs. Oops. You can see that nothing has to be perfect. We're not trying to make works of art. It's just having fun. And then use your pencil or your spoon or whatever, put an eye in, and then you can do a mouth. If you really wanted to, you could make a tree. Sorry, it's a bit askew. You could make a volcano. You can make a 3D volcano if you want to. Just kind of squash it up, put a hole in the middle. If you wanted to make it next to your dinosaur, put a hole in, and then you can have, should be a bit more like a cone, and you can make the stuff all coming out of the volcano, like rocks and things like that. Anyway, gives you the idea. If you want to make a T-Rex, then your body needs to sit upright. It's no longer a long neck. So if you're going to make him, put your, I'm going to have to do it upside down. There's his body. Give him a roundy head and squash it on. He then needs a tail, so make a worm. He's got very big back legs, so make nice big fat legs. And then of course his tiny little arms are going to be worms. So I'll do another little arm over there. So it's just 2 arms. Probably needs another leg for the other side of the back side of him. And you just squash and pull as you go along. Last thing you need to do is to give him a bigger mouth, so he starts to look quite fierce. Give him an eye, and then just kind of squash him a bit to make him look more like a dinosaur. And then you just break off bits to make for his teeth, and before you know it, he's got scary looking teeth. And there you've got your T-Rex. As I say, just give him a neck if you want, and you'll see after a while he starts to resemble something. If you're doing a dog, we're going to give him a body. Can you see it if I do it this way? Okay, so we're going to give him like a rectangle. He needs a nice worm for his tail. I'm just going to break it off, and I'm going to give him a happy curly tail, because then it's like he's really pleased to see you. We're going to make a worm for his legs, so let's make a worm. So just always squash it on, make a worm. Then his head would be a circle that we can make into a slightly longer one. Let's give him some ears. We could even give him a collar by another worm. There's his collar. And of course he needs some eyes. For us, he can't see. Let's give him 2 eyes. And then he needs a nose. So give him a nice big roundy round nose. And there you can have your dog. If you want to, you can make sure he only has 1 ear, because you're looking at him from a side view, and you could put his eye like that. So another idea, if you want to make a cupcake, let's do a circle. So you can do anything that you possibly can imagine and just model it. So squash it into place. So let's make him a big fat cupcake. Now we want to have some icing. So I'm going to do a topping, and then I'm going to squash it down. So it almost looks like the icing of a cake, almost like fondant icing. You could put a cherry on the top if you wanted to make a candle, a birthday candle. You can have a candle, and then kids always like to sing happy birthday to you and blow it out. We can make a giraffe by doing, again, a body. Then you're going to have a long neck. I'm just exaggerating it. Do a circle for his head, squash it together. Give him a worm tail. As I say, just all the time squashing it, and they look a little bit better. And then he needs his 4 legs, so do worms, because he's got longer. This is rather resembling a dinosaur again, but anyway, this is just to prove to you that anybody can do modeling with Play-Doh. Especially when you try to do it fast. Give him some spots. Give him an eye. And if you want to, mouth, let's give him his his ears and his those round things on his head. Round thing for his ear. Oops. And then it almost looks like a unicorn. But anyway, it's just to give you a rough idea of how to do things. Oops. I don't know. We'll have to have a picture in front, but it's just to show the kids that it doesn't really matter how quickly you make it. It's just the vague impression. Anyway, I hope you have lots and lots of fun modeling. Make sure you don't do this near a carpet, or else you'll end up with hordes of bits of Play-Doh in your carpet. You'll also end up with blue hands and colored hands. Look like a Smurf, but that's perfect as long as the kids are having fun. Enjoy. Bye.